Our first reading this morning is excerpted from a larger blog post by Amy Lease. Hope is hard work. It's messy, tiring, doesn't provide any guarantee that you'll end up where you want to be. It requires redos and second chances, timeouts, and recharges. But as a writer, I know that you can't edit a blank page. As a philosopher, I know that if you don't ask the questions, you get zero answers. I hope for a living, and I hope so that I have a life. Something may come of the things that I do because I hope. There are so many ways to practice hope as a verb. If you are reaching out to your community, even in small ways, you hope. If you are reading to your child and talking to them like they're an intelligent being, you hope. If you are growing your own vegetables or sewing your own clothes, you hope. If you are supporting a local artist or business, you hope. If you are a researcher or you are workshopping a problem, you hope. If you teach or you heal, you hope. If you are posting information or encouragement online, trolling doesn't count, you hope. If you got out of bed this morning and made something or did something, or you came here, that's mine. You hope. Maybe continues. I'm going to begin with a pause of all things because, of course, because today is December 7th. And 86 years ago today, the sun rose over the islands of Hawaii. But they didn't bring just a sunny day. There were planes and bombs and fear. December 7th, 1941, 2,403 dead. We remember them. Perhaps when you think of hope, you, like me, think of the horns of Gondor arriving just in the nick of time, or perhaps you think of Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Perhaps if you have ever been on Twitter, I was momentarily, I left. And I'm trying to find the source for this quote because it's all over social media and nobody knows who the person is who wrote this. So it's from Matthew at Crow's Fault. I can imagine Matthew. People speak of hope as it is, if it's this delicate, ephemeral thing made of whispers and spiderwebs. It's not. Hope has dirt on her face, blood on her knuckles, the grit of the cobblestones in her hair, and just spat out a tooth as she rises for another go. What is hope to you? I kind of think we need the second version right now. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, however. I think that hope can exist within us at all times. And I think we need a little grit with our hope. much like our Unitarian Universalist faith, which calls us to action in the face of injustice, cruelty, or exclusion, rather than only calls us to thoughts and prayers. Hope can exist in all of us, but thrives when, as author and philosopher Joanna Macy writes, we approach it as something we do rather than something we have. So we can have hope. Yay, we have hope. And then what? Macy invites us to consider the work of reconnecting to each other, to ourselves as part of the web of life on Earth as a spiral, with a starting point, growing and visioning threads, and a launching place, all leading back to the starting point. She writes, the spiral of the work that reconnects. That's a title that part of the program that she uses, the work that reconnects. It's something we can come back to again and again as a source of strength and fresh insights. It reminds us that we are larger, stronger, deeper, and more creative than we have been brought up to believe. It maps out an empowerment process that journeys through 4 successive movements or stations described as coming from gratitude, honoring our pain for the world, seeing with new eyes, and going forth. And then back again. The image chosen for this spiral as a depiction of it is a dandelion. A dandelion. The root is coming from gratitude. That's that part of the journey, kind of grounding ourselves, rooting ourselves. The stem is honoring our pain for the world. The yellow fluffy flower is seeing with new eyes, and those white floating seeds represent going forth. I'm delighted that the humble dandelion is the visual for this spiral of the work that reconnects. It's common and everywhere. It's tenacious. If you've ever tried to not have dandelions, you understand that, right? It's useful. The roots can be used, roasted and used as a coffee alternative. The yellow flowers are often the first food for early pollinators. It makes interesting wine if you gather all those yellow blossoms. And it's a simple, joyful toy, right, for a kid or certain grown-ups I know. For making flower crowns, right? Or flying seeds. Do you remember the first time when you were a child that you successfully blew? Got it just right, and those seeds left the stem. That is a big deal. What a moment. I am grateful for Dory Midnight, the artist, for using this humble plant. And because we've just come through a month that asks us to focus on gratitude, I'll just briefly touch on why it makes a good place to begin this journey, this gratitude. Macy writes that a moment of gratitude strengthens your capacity to look at rather than turn away from disturbing information. Right? Just because something is disturbing doesn't mean you cannot ground yourself in gratitude. Something as simple as, I woke up this morning, the sun was out, or it was raining. Gratitude. Gratitude for what is. Recognizing the gifts in your life, Macy reminds us, is profoundly strengthening. So that gratitude practice that you've struggled with, that comes and goes, is actually a really good tool for our times. Well, for all times, really. She writes that by savoring these gifts of what is, You add to your psychological buoyancy. I love that, psychological, which helps you maintain your balance and poise when entering rougher waters. So we begin with the root that is gratitude. I thought of this as I think of all the justice work, the social justice work that our Unitarian Universalist faith both does and calls us to do. I love that we are a people who want to leap in and show up and do the thing. And what I've learned in my years of working with Side with Love and teaching with that and learning and getting instructed and witnessing it is that first you need to ground and center yourself to understand the roots of what it is you are about to do. And most importantly, why you are doing that work as part of your faith instead of just leaping into the doing. Gratitude can be a good beginning. I am grateful that I have the wherewithal to be part of this movement. I am grateful that I have hands or feet or mind or words or ideas to be part of this work. So not just doing the work, but understanding the why of the work and why you are called to it can really strengthen how you do that work and how you are in community with others who are doing that work. I'm going to touch on a couple of practices from Joanna Macy's book, Active Hope, because it's a program. It really is a program. You can do it individually or with other groups to strengthen yourself or the community in doing justice work, in holding hope and acting with hope. So as we're grounding ourselves in gratitude, now some of you may have been doing this all last month, are like, really, again? Yes, again. So I want to have you settle for just a moment, feel yourself in your seat, feel your breath. Take a moment. What is your mental state right now? What are you feeling? Are you like, Laura, get on with it? Are you scattered? Feel your breath in and out. Come up with an ending for this open question. This is from Active Hope. One thing I love about being alive on Earth is one thing I love about being alive on Earth is hold that image of what you finished that sentence with. Maybe even cup your hands as if you're cherishing that, loving that image. You now notice a shift in posture or in feeling when you think of that thing you are grateful for that you love about being here. A bit of smile inside to think of that thing you love. Place hand over your heart, let it rest there. Thank you. We begin with gratitude. Call back that image, that thought, anytime you're feeling less than hopeful, less than fully present. That thing you love, being on Earth. We started at the roots. Let's move ourselves up the stem to probably some of the hardest work there is. trusting the spiral that asks us to pay attention to how we feel about noticing and acknowledging our pain for the world. We know there's pain in the world right now. We know that not just 86 years ago were thousands of lives lost on a single day. We know that happens all around the world right now. And it may not be somebody we know, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. And probably one of the hardest things is to say it out loud. I am hurting because someone I don't know is hurting. Macy writes, dedicating time and attention to honoring our pain for the world ensures that there is space to hear our sorrow, grief, outrage, and any other feelings revealing themselves in response to what is happening to our world. By honoring our pain for the world, she writes, we break through the taboos that silence our distress. Smash that wall. Facing the distress doesn't make it disappear. We know that. But like naming those things that we are grateful for, it makes them tangible. That pain is now tangible. It is not this amorphous thing floating around, sitting in our bellies. It may have a face. It may have a sound. And when you can recognize it, then sometimes you're more able to do something about it or with it once it's recognized. So I want to invite you into another set of open questions. These may bring up strong feelings. So before we settle into the questions, find something to look at that calms you. Maybe place your hands deliberately in the wood of the seat or the cushion so that you're touching something real and tangible. Remember your breath too, which is there. And come back to that if you need to. So the first question, when I think about the condition of our world, I would say things are getting, what is your word? When I think about the conditions of our world right now, I would say things are getting some feelings that come up when I think about these things are some feelings that come up when I think about these things are take a moment to sit with these feelings, whatever feelings you've named. Read through them. Maybe even cup your hands and hold them and cherish and nourish them. You need to give yourself a hug right now. In gratitude. We name the pain in the world and we honor it. Amen. Naming difficult feelings is countercultural. We are told so often to keep our feelings to ourselves. Have you heard that? I have heard that. Keep your feelings to yourselves. Have them dismissed. No, it's not that bad. Oh, you're just being rude. Well, that's hurtful too. Can we be grateful even for uncomfortable feelings? We don't have to love them, but we can appreciate that we have feelings, that we care, that we are not numb to injustice and pain that is not necessarily our own. Macy reminds us that working with gratitude and naming our pain and fear helps us also feel compassion and concern for others and for the wider world, perhaps for the earth itself. She writes, the distinction often made between selfishness and altruism is misleading. It is based on a split between self and other, presenting us with a choice between helping ourselves, which is viewed maybe as selfishness, and helping others, viewed as altruism. When we consider the connected self, she writes, we recognize this choice is nonsense. It is from our connected selves that much of what people most value in life emerges, including love, friendship, loyalty, trust, relationship, belonging, purpose, gratitude, spirituality, mutual aid, and meaning. Okay then. Okay then. In other words, all of us need all of us to thrive. Serving you or others serves me in mutually beneficial circles. It is at this point in the spiral of the work that reconnects, that we can begin taking the gratitude for what is already here and the pain we feel in the world and bring ourselves to action for sustainable change. It is at this point when we often feel that the small actions we take seem to make no shifts toward the world we dream about, that one of my colleagues and teachers replied, then stop being one person. Stop being one person doing those seemingly small things. See with new eyes the other people in your circles or just outside of your own circles who are also compelled to do justice and walk humbly in the world. This is the point. That we go forth like dandelion seeds on the wind or on the breath, settling in who knows where to begin the cycle again by putting down more roots. This is the point where power over gives way to power with. Yeah. I just want to do this to power over. Give it a nice push off the wall. Power with. This is what hope looks like. This is what hope looks like. I'll close with a quote from Jasmine Wilder on Instagram. Yes, social media. Creator of the Tiny Joy Project on Instagram. She posted in November, somewhere a seed just cracked open underground, completely certain that light exists. Even in winter. In this season, celebrating both the restfulness of the dark and the joy of returning light, may we also crack open remembering our faith in compassion, equity, interdependence. May we rise from the ground, grit of cobblestones in our hair, ready for another go. Amen, and blessed be.